Hey, what is up, guys? This is CDT Sports. I'm Chris,
And I'm Dan.
and we're going to talk about the OBJ contract and see how that went.
And we're going to talk about something that happened today with the Commanders.
What did you think of the Odell signing?
What Odell signing?
He's on the
Hey,
Ravens now. I'm pretty
right?
excited about it.
Yeah, I think you were the one that texted me that, I think.
Yep.
And yeah, I think the number is going to be three now. I think he's officially number
Yep.
three.
Number
Nice.
three. I saw it. They had I think it was the alternative black jersey, and I was like, I might have to get that.
It's very tempting. He's only signed a 1 year contract, right?
Yeah. And I mean, hey, if he has a really good year with us, that'd be worth a jersey. That'd be pretty dope.
So let's go ahead and talk about this contract. Chris, would you mind giving some details to the people out there who may not know what's going on?
So Odell signed a 1 year deal with the Ravens up to 18 million. The base contract,
Wasn't it 15 million, something like that? Like he's getting a minimum of 15?
yeah, minimum of 15 million, but his base contract is, if this is correct, 1.165 base salary and a 13.835 signing bonus.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, look, I'm not really aware of how much wide receivers get paid. Obviously, I know quarterbacks get paid more, but is that pretty good for a wide receiver? I've been told that's pretty high.
That's pretty high for a wide receiver. They might have overpaid, but I'm okay with it because it looks like they're actually trying to get a star-studded receiver, and I'm pretty hyped about it.
I did see that he was asking for a minimum of 15, between 15 and 20. So I guess maybe the Ravens reached out and were like, hey, maybe not 15. What about 12? And he's like, nope, 15. What about 13? 15. Maybe. Who knows?
And they're like 15. He was like 15, then they shook hands.
Right. 15 with three incentives.
Yeah, and then the incentive, I don't know if it's true. It might have been false what I saw, but there was a picture I saw of what some of the incentives were. And I think if he's the leading receiver on the team or gets 1,000 yards, that's 1 million right there.
So that's my next question for you. I think we both watched the Super Bowl. We did watch the Super Bowl where he tore his ACL. So a lot of people, I mean, you were saying this before we started recording. A lot of Ravens fans are not happy about this.
Yeah, a lot of them think he's washed. And I don't agree with that. And I wasn't even a big OBJ fan. I just respected him and knew that he's a good receiver. And it's like, I didn't like him because I held a grudge for so long for what he did to the Ravens. I don't know if you remember that game. 222 yards, two touchdowns, and 18 or eight receptions. I can't
Was he
remember
with
what it
the
was.
was he with the Giants or was he with
Yep.
the okay? I wasn't sure if he was on the Browns not. Which that's another point I wanted to say is yeah, he went to a division rival from the Browns.
Yeah. And I can't wait to see him torch their defense.
I wonder if that was a factor in his decision at all.
I wonder that as well.
He is only 1 year removed from an ACL injury, which obviously I've never torn my ACL. I know that's a process to come back. He didn't play last year, but I don't think it's fair to call him washed up.
No, I don't think it is either. I think he's a good receiver. I don't, he might not be the same, but at the same time, he's going to take away someone on defense. He's probably going to be one of the better receivers that we've had in a long time in terms of someone that we've brought in. And who knows, Nelson Aguilar could have a good season. We don't know. We haven't seen him how he is with the Ravens yet. And I can't wait for them to finally give Bateman a chance, nice and healthy. And same thing with Devin Duvernay.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that Aguilar, is he number two or is he, what is he
I
now?
don't know what he'd be considered because I think Bateman would be considered the number two receiver.
Yeah, probably Rashad Bateman. I'm trying to look on the Ravens
And
site
then
because I
Devin
feel like,
Duvernay and Nelson Aguilar would probably fight for who would go
yep,
next.
Rashad Bateman and OBJ, that's number one and number two. Well, I don't know which one's number one, which number
That's a
two, but
scary number one and number two. But guys, I'm just going to throw this out there just to be crazy. What if the Ravens threw a third round from this year? Because this is what I've heard that he's worth. Third round this year and maybe a fifth round next year for DeAndre Hopkins.
there's kind of two trains of thought there, at least in my opinion. They're either doing this to get Lamar to sign,
Yep.
or they're like, well, you know what? We're finally going to get great wide receivers. We can afford a less than stellar quarterback now. We can either
Yeah.
draft one or we can trade for one in free agency.
How
Or,
crazy would it be if they went and picked up like Joe Flacco or someone like that? And like they got DeAndre Hopkins. Like that would be wild.
you had mentioned before we started recording, what if they got Heineke from the Falcons? I don't necessarily know if that would work because I mean he signed a contract. Does he have a no trade clause when he signs a contract? I don't know. I
I
don't know how
think it
that
would all depend
works.
on contracts and stuff like that. I would like to see Heineke if they were to do something like that, just because he's pretty decent. Unless the Ravens were able to get one of the quarterbacks from San Francisco.
Well, Jimmy G's already in Las Vegas, and I don't know. Would they get? They're not going to get rid of Brock Purdy. What's the other one's name? I can't remember. Is it Trey Lance?
Trey Lance.
I don't know. We'll see.
I
I
just can't wait
think.
for the season now.
Well, I still think the most realistic trade scenario potentially would be trading with Indianapolis for the number 4 pick, or potentially, I wouldn't say Houston, maybe Seattle. I don't know. Well, actually, probably not Seattle because they did. What's the word?
Resign Geno Smith.
Yes. Sorry, I'm trying to think here. Who else could they trade with besides?
Oh, if someone were to go after Lamar
Yeah,
and they were able to trade him. Um,
maybe the Falcons. I don't know.
Now that we're on the subject of DeAndre Hopkins, though, just to throw a little curveball at you, where do you think he could go to if he does get traded?
That's a great question. Maybe Tennessee?
Ooh, ooh, I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah, they need it. Atlanta? I wouldn't be upset.
Oh, to see Heineke and DeAndre Hopkins together, that'd be interesting. That'd be
Well,
a
just
really
Atlanta needs
interesting
wide
combo.
receivers.
Well, they do. That's true.
Who knows if Atlanta is going to get offensive line or wide receiver in their first round of the draft? But if they traded for DeAndre Hopkins, I think they'd be pretty good because they got Drake London, Kyle Pitts. I think that would work.
I agree. That'd be a really interesting combination there.
Yeah, with Taylor Heineke and Desmond Ritter, I think that would. I mean, I don't know if they win a Super Bowl, but maybe at least make the playoffs, be a wild card.
Nowhere else I could see him going? Green Bay.
As a wide receiver, though, I don't know. I guess Jordan Love.
Put
It's
Jordan Love and
interesting.
a good receiver together.
I could see it.
That'd be
But
it'd be interesting to see.
back to the Ravens, though. So let me ask you, how does this impact Lamar signing with us? Because he could either A, sign on the franchise tag that he's been offered, or B, not sign it and sit out. Those are kind of
I don't
his
think
options right now if he doesn't get traded. Sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna sit out. I think the Ravens are gonna give him the contract he wants. I'm starting to think that they're gonna come together, and it might be a little bit lower than you wanted, but I think he's gonna sign like a 3 to 4 year deal, guaranteed like
I could see
165 to
it.
175, and
How long
it's
was
gonna be a
Deshaun
good
Watson's deal? Was it 5 or 10 years, something like that?
5 years. I want to say. Patrick Mahomes was 10 years. His is a 10 year contract.
Yeah, but he won him a Super Bowl and got him to the AFC Championship in the span of 2 years.
Oh no, and I agree. He's already restructured it. It's
Yeah,
100%.
apparently Deshaun restructured too, but yeah. Well, so let me ask you: Do the Ravens have the ability to do this? Like, are they just like refusing to pay him what he's worth, or do they just not have the cap space to make this work?
They can make it work.
Okay,
From what I've read, they can make it work. It just all depends on how they would backload the contract and stuff like that. With what the Saints were able to do with the cap for years, I think they'd be able to somehow stretch it
okay. And I do know the cap. I'm not a cap expert, but I do know that it goes up every year, right?
for the most part.
Okay.
It's going
Well,
up, I think, significantly this year, though, if I'm correct, or like by a decent
no idea.
margin.
No, yeah, I think that Odell, I don't think it's going to be negative. I think he'll make some good catches. And obviously, we still have Mark Andrews. And if Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews and Odell Beckham are there, I think that's a pretty good
Oh
core.
my! Who are they going to cover? Because Odell can go wide out left, right, wide out right, and then you got Mark Andrews with like a slant over the middle. I mean, that's game over.
Well, we got to remember, too, Odell's injury. But yeah, I mean, if he's back to, the way he was the year that he won the Super Bowl with the Rams,
Yep, I
I'd be down.
100% agree. You got to. I'll tone down my expectations a lot. I'm just kind of messing with everybody
It's,
right now, but it's a ton of fun. I'm just really excited to see that the Ravens are actually doing something for once.
oh, yeah. Well, remember, I had high expectations against that game in Tennessee the year that we were the number 1 seed. And then,
I know how that is. I know how
yep,
that is.
yeah. But anyway, so anything else you want to say about the Ravens?
No, I think that's about it. I did like Odell. He did try to make a plea for Lamar to come back, come to the Ravens and
Oh,
everything.
nice.
He was like, "I
Exactly what
want
he
to play
said.
with you." Yeah, he was like, "I want to." He goes, "I'd love to play with you," or something along those lines.
Well, I know that, and I'm going to pull this up. I think the Ravens actually did post a picture I'm looking right at it, and I guess you don't have Instagram, but it's a picture of Lamar and Odell, they are FaceTiming, or it looks like they're
Yep.
FaceTiming, and I think maybe Lamar posted it on Instagram.
Yep, he did. I think they went out as well. I think they went out for the night as well
Okay. Okay.
and hung out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it being anything but positive, whether it just be 1% positive or 100% positive. We'll see. But yeah, so I kind of wanted to talk about something else that happened today, and I'd like to give you a little story on what happened for me.
All right, let's hear it.
So I was working, and then a coworker of mine was just like, "Hey, Commander's sold." I'm like, "What?" And so I looked on my phone, and like I didn't see anything when I Googled it because it was like literally breaking. I think it was on
Yep.
Pat McAfee or something because my friend who told me, he was like, "Pat McAfee confirmed." I'm like, "What?" And so we looked it up, but yeah, Dan Snyder has agreed in principle to sell the Commanders to Josh Harris and his group that includes, let's see here, Magic Johnson and DC area billionaire Mitchell Rails. So a group of three for $6 billion and some change, but at least 6 billion, which is the highest. Like that's the record for the highest amount that someone has paid for a team in the NFL or has sold for. The previous record was 4.65 billion set last year when basically Walmart bought the Broncos.
Let's
So
get a round of applause here, guys. Let's get a round of applause here.
everyone's like, "Bad man's gone," and on
Bad man gone.
Twitter, I don't go on Twitter, Reddit and Instagram are all blowing up, and I'm seeing all the memes. I'm like, calm down, people. We need to wait until it's a done deal. We need to wait until it's signed on the dotted line. So like the owners have to approve it 2/3 majority, which I don't foresee them being any issues with that personally. But we see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not just a light. It's like an actual, like we can see the form of the tunnel now, like the exit.
But what if the owners do deny it?
Then they're gonna have to expect at least another 2 or 3 decades of scandals and things that are gonna make fans not want to go to the DC area for sports.
That's true. I already know people personally who stopped watching. Well, no, they didn't stop watching because like people in their family watch them, but stopped being fans of the Commanders just because not because of the name change at all. It was just because of Dan Snyder. They started looking into how much of a person like bad person he is and stuff.
I messaged my friend because I'm like, "I didn't know you were a Commanders fan." I was like, "I am again now." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So, Chris, how do you feel about this as a Ravens fan, a fan on the outside looking in? How do you feel about this Commanders sale?
As someone from this area where the Nova type area, it's huge to be able to see a lot of these fans who have just been miserable for years. So you have some sort of excitement because this area is full of Washington fans. I mean, I still see that stuff everywhere. I still see a lot of the old logos. I see a lot of the new Commanders logos too, though. And being near that DC type area, there's a ton of fans down here. They're all excited. I even know, like, I heard some Dallas fans that were excited about it.
I actually saw someone driving the other day. I think it was with a Washington football team, a sticker on their truck or something. That was cool. But yeah, I think just for me, and I mentioned this in a previous episode, I would just be so happy if the Commanders would win a Super Bowl in my wife's lifetime because the last time they won it was 1991, 92, something like that. She hadn't been born yet. I know her dad, who is a lifelong Redskins Commanders fan, had seen them win back in the late 80s, early, whatever, 80s, 90s. But I would just love to see my wife have her team win a Super Bowl in her lifetime. I'm not
No,
expecting it
that's
to
fair.
happen like this year or next year or anything like that. It's just, I'd be so happy for
No,
her.
that's absolutely fair.
Wouldn't it be such a punch in the gut to Snyder if they won the Super Bowl next year without him?
We're PG, so I won't say what it would be to Snyder, but I agree with that statement.
Like, I guess it's kind of good that like I'm like, who is this guy? And apparently Josh, what's his name? Josh Harris. He is the owner of the Philadelphia 76ers, which yeah, that's a basketball team, and the NHL New Jersey Devils. So he's a sports owner. And obviously Magic Johnson is a basketball Hall of Famer. Mitchell Rails, the third guy in there, is a DC area billionaire. Seems to me like Harris would be the majority owner, and then the other two would be the minority owner, because I'm pretty sure Snyder has or had minority owners. I'm pretty sure all the owners do, but just the majority owner is the one that you see, like Jerry Jones or Steve Biscotti or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think some teams have just have complete ownership though.
I know the McCaskey family own the Bears. What about Spanos? Is he the only one who owns the Chargers?
See, I don't know how that works. That's where I get confused with stuff like that because I'm not entirely sure.
Someone in the comments let us know. But
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
and apparently Harris also made a bid for the Broncos previously. So apparently the league's familiar with him and his finances, which could help expedite the approval process. But the owners are going to convene in May for their regularly scheduled spring meeting where a vote on final approval could take place. Again, I don't foresee them having any issues with this. It's just such a relief. It's like I until I see a
Pen on
dotted
paper.
line with yeah, until I see it's official. Like if I go on, the Commander's website and see the owner is Josh Harris and Magic Johnson and all that, I'm holding my breath. But once I see it, I'm going crazy.
Dude, I'm gonna be so excited for you when that does happen.
And just not even that, but like the people who grew up as Redskins fans, Commanders fans, Washington football fans, who have had, they tried going to FedEx Field and it's been horrible. People who have just had such a bad experience being a fan, like through all the, I mean, I remember optimism when RG3 was picked, but then that lasted for like a year or two, maybe, and then it was gone. And then ever since then, it's just been like, well, we suck.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I've seen with everybody. Yeah, when RG3 was drafted, I was even excited for him because I was like, oh man, he was great at Baylor.
He was good for a little bit, but again, and if you watch Urinating Trees video about just all the controversies that Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen were a part of,
Yeah,
it's just like, can we get? I really hope that this new ownership group is kind of just like an owner in name, but like they just back off and just do what all owners are supposed to do. Just like keep your hands out of the
cookie
management.
jar.
Just pay the bills and collect the paychecks, basically.
I agree with that. So you don't want like a Jerry Jones type owner.
Oh no, because that's what Dan Snyder is.
Yeah.
But he's
Okay.
not as I'm a Washington fan. I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I'll concede that Jerry Jones is a smarter owner. Which also, I don't know if this says more about Snyder or if it says more about Jerry Jones. But apparently, Jerry Jones was like his only confidant or friend in the ownership circle.
Maybe he felt bad for him. I mean, he got to beat up on him twice a year, just about.
I mean, I think they swept us last year in 2021, but in 22, I know it was an even spread. They beat us one time, and then we beat the heck out of them the last game. And that was Sam Howell's first game. So I don't know if that says more about Sam Howell or says anything about the Cowboys. But I do know we swept them in 2020. Obviously, I think Dak was out, so we beat their backup. It was Andy Dalton, whatever. But it was still a great time to be a Washington fan, at least in
A
that
win's a
regard.
win.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I'm just super. I'm hopeful.
Yeah,
Now I don't know because we got Jacoby Brissett, we got Sam Howell. I don't know if like maybe we'll get a Lamar or if we're gonna get like a draft one. I think we saw a
I will
mock draft
cry
where they
if they
picked
go
up.
after Lamar.
Could happen. I mean, I think Lamar would enjoy Scary Terry, but yeah, I'm looking here at a mock draft, and it looks like this one guy on CBS said that we trade with Atlanta for the eighth pick, and we pick up Anthony Richardson. I kind of feel like I know how you're going to feel about that because I know you want him to go to the Ravens, but
Yeah, if we don't have Lamar, that's what I want them to do.
I could see it. I'd be happy. But
I would rather have Lamar though.
oh yeah, so that's kind of our initial thoughts on both of these things. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Chris?
Like OBJ said, Lamar, if you're watching, would love to watch you keep playing for the Ravens.
Right, the Commanders. I mean, any other comments you want to say about that?
Yeah, I think they have a bright future with is it Brian Robinson,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is that the running back? Scary Terry,
Antonio
Sam Howell,
Gibson, Sam Howell,
Gibson. I mean, they got a bright future
Chase
there.
Young.
What if they trade for DeAndre Hopkins?
Well, okay, because we have Jahan Dotson. We traded him in the first round last year.
Dotson, Scary Terry, Hopkins.
Oof, I'd be happy with that.
That'd be scary.
Well, anyway, let's not drag this out any longer than it needs to. But yeah, let us know in the comments what you think about this whole OBJ situation, and let us know how happy you are on a scale of 1 to 10 to the Commanders being finally looks like we're gonna have a new owner here, like this time, maybe even as soon as like 2 months from now. That'd be pretty awesome,
Yeah, here's to being hopeful.
right? Things are looking up for both teams. Maybe we'll do another revised like schedule, and we'll kind of just see if we think we're gonna have more wins or not. So
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Do another how many people we think how many wins we think a team's gonna get.
season predictions.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, let us know in the comments. We appreciate every single one of you, and drop a like, subscribe, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
See you guys.